Welcome to Fear Files. Join us as a family inherits a cursed dollhouse where past tragedies replay in the dead of night, threatening their very sanity. And also, a birthday gift becomes a doorway to the supernatural as a troubled spirit seeks to possess an innocent child to escape its eternal torment. And lastly, an old attic secret reveals a haunting tale of a vengeful spirit, desperate for release, and a family's fight to protect their son from the malevolent force within. Prepare yourself for the trio of terror. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to join us on this chilling journey.
The autumn afternoon was dreary when the package arrived, a gray sky casting a somber light over Hawthorne Grove. Alice Johnson stood at the front door, peering down at the large, weathered crate that the delivery man had just deposited on her porch. Her daughter, Emily, peeked curiously from behind her mother, her wide blue eyes sparkling with excitement. "What is it, Mom?" Emily asked, stepping forward to get a better look. Alice frowned, examining the crate. "I'm not sure, sweetheart. It's addressed to us, but I wasn't expecting anything." She knelt down and began prying open the crate with a crowbar. With a creak and a snap, the lid came off, revealing a dusty, old Victorian dollhouse. It was exquisite, with intricate details and miniature furniture that looked almost lifelike. Emily's eyes lit up as she took in the sight. "Wow, can I play with it?" she asked eagerly. Alice hesitated, a strange feeling of unease creeping over her. "Let's clean it up first. It's very old and looks fragile." As they carried the dollhouse inside, neither of them noticed the faint spectral figure watching from the shadows of the front yard. Emily quickly became enamored with the dollhouse, spending hours meticulously arranging and rearranging the miniature furniture and dolls. She named each figure, creating elaborate stories and adventures for them. Alice watched her daughter play, feeling a growing sense of discomfort. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night, as Alice was tucking Emily into bed, her daughter looked up at her with a troubled expression. "Mom, the dolls. They move on their own," Emily whispered. Alice forced a reassuring smile. "It's just your imagination, sweetie. Toys can't move by themselves." But that night, as Alice was lying in bed, she heard faint, high-pitched screams coming from Emily's room. She rushed in to find her daughter sitting up in bed, wide-eyed with fear. "The dolls were screaming," Emily said, her voice trembling. Alice glanced at the dollhouse. The dolls were arranged in a different position than how Emily had left them, a scene of chaos and fear, with some dolls lying broken on the floor. The strange occurrences continued. Every morning, Alice found the dolls in new, disturbing positions. Claw marks appeared on the miniature furniture, and the sounds of whispers and footsteps echoed through the house at night. Emily's once cheerful demeanor grew somber, and dark circles formed under her eyes from sleepless nights. Desperate for answers, Alice began researching the history of the dollhouse. She discovered it had once belonged to Eleanor Whitmore, a renowned doll maker who lived in the 19th century. Eleanor was rumored to have dabbled in dark magic, using the souls of the deceased to animate her creations. Alice's husband, Mark, remained skeptical, attributing the events to coincidence and Emily's imagination. But Alice was determined to uncover the truth and protect her family. Alice contacted a local historian, Mr. Thompson, who specialized in Victorian artifacts. Together, they delved into the dark history of Eleanor Whitmore. They learned that Eleanor had been wronged by her community and had used her final years to craft the cursed dollhouse, binding the spirits of her enemies within it. As Alice and Mr. Thompson pieced together the story, the dollhouse's influence grew stronger. New miniatures appeared, depicting recent tragedies in the neighborhood: a car accident, a house fire, a mysterious disappearance. The parallels were too precise to ignore. Emily became increasingly tormented by the dollhouse. One night she woke screaming, claiming she had seen Eleanor's ghost. Alice knew they had to act quickly. She enlisted the help of a medium, Mrs. Wren, who confirmed the presence of a powerful, vengeful spirit. Mrs. Wren explained that the only way to break the curse was to destroy the dollhouse, but doing so would release the trapped spirits, including Eleanor's malevolent force. As they prepared for the ritual, the house itself seemed to rebel. Doors slammed shut, windows shattered, and the air grew cold and oppressive. The dollhouse's miniatures came to life, creating scenes of horror that mirrored the chaos around them. In a climactic battle, Alice, Mark, and Mrs. Wren faced the full wrath of Eleanor's spirit. The dollhouse trembled and glowed with an eerie light as Eleanor manifested, a spectral figure of rage and sorrow. With Emily's safety as their driving force, the family fought against the malevolent spirit. Alice held the dollhouse aloft, chanting the incantation provided by Mrs. Wren. The air crackled with energy as Eleanor's spirit screamed in defiance, her form growing more monstrous and distorted. In a final, desperate act, Alice smashed the dollhouse to the ground. There was a blinding flash of light, and Eleanor's scream echoed one last time before fading into silence. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the house returned to its normal state. In the aftermath, the Johnson family struggled to return to a sense of normalcy. The dollhouse was gone, and the strange occurrences had ceased, but the memories of the ordeal lingered. Alice continued her research, determined to honor the spirits who had been trapped and to prevent such a curse from taking hold again. Emily, though shaken, found comfort in her mother's strength and the reassurance that the evil had been vanquished. As the seasons changed and Hawthorne Grove returned to its quiet existence, the Johnson family forged a new path forward, united by the trials they had overcome and the knowledge that they had faced the darkness together. And in the shadows of the forest, a faint spectral figure watched, waiting for the next opportunity to emerge. It was Mia Carter's 6th birthday, and the entire house buzzed with excitement. The living room was filled with balloons, streamers, and the delicious scent of Jenna's homemade cupcakes. The final present of the day, a large antique dollhouse wrapped in a shroud of mystery, sat at the center of the room, capturing Mia's undivided attention. Her bright green eyes sparkled as she eagerly tore away the wrapping paper, revealing a beautiful, old-fashioned dollhouse. "Wow, it's amazing!" Mia exclaimed, her small hands running over the intricate details of the miniature house. It was a Victorian masterpiece, complete with tiny, exquisitely crafted furniture and delicate porcelain dolls. Jenna smiled warmly at her daughter's joy. "It belonged to your great-great-aunt. It's been in the family for generations." As the day turned into evening, the dollhouse was moved to Mia's bedroom, where it occupied a prominent spot next to her bed. Mia spent hours playing with it, creating elaborate stories and adventures for the dolls. She named each figure, giving them distinct personalities and lives. But as night fell, the house seemed to take on a different character. The once charming and inviting dollhouse appeared darker, its shadows deeper, its presence more unsettling. Mia didn't notice the change at first, lost in her imaginative play. It wasn't long before strange whispers began emanating from the miniature rooms. Mia, initially curious, leaned in closer, trying to understand the ghostly murmurs. The whispers grew more insistent, filling her young mind with unease. She started noticing that the dolls seemed to move on their own, their positions shifting when she wasn't looking. "Mama, the dolls move by themselves," Mia said one morning, her voice tinged with fear. Jenna laughed lightly, ruffling Mia's hair. "It's just your imagination, sweetheart. Dolls can't move on their own." But the eerie occurrences continued. Jenna and Michael began noticing changes too. The dolls' expressions seemed to morph into sinister grins, and tiny, cold handprints appeared on the glass of the dollhouse. The atmosphere in the house grew tense, shadows playing tricks on the eyes. whispers seeming to follow them through the rooms. One night, as Jenna was finishing up some chores, she heard a child's laughter echoing through the house. She rushed to Mia's room, only to find her daughter fast asleep, clutching the dollhouse tightly. The laughter, though, still lingered in the air, chilling Jenna to the bone. Desperate for answers, Jenna and Michael decided to consult a paranormal expert. They contacted Dr. Helen Wren, a renowned parapsychologist, who agreed to visit their home and investigate the dollhouse. Dr. Wren was a middle-aged woman with a calm, reassuring presence, her eyes reflecting years of experience with the supernatural. Upon her arrival, Dr. Wren carefully examined the dollhouse, her expression growing more serious by the minute. She listened to Mia's accounts of the moving dolls and the whispers, her frown deepening. "This dollhouse has a dark history," Dr. Wren explained. "It once belonged to a troubled child named Eliza Hastings. She lived in the late 19th century and suffered greatly at the hands of her abusive parents. Eliza spent most of her time alone, finding solace in her dollhouse. After her tragic death, her spirit became trapped within it, fueled by her desperate need for companionship." Michael, always the skeptic, folded his arms. "So, what does Eliza want with Mia?" Dr. Wren sighed. "Eliza's spirit is tormented. She believes that possessing Mia's innocent soul can free her from her eternal torment. She's drawn to Mia's purity and light." The Carters' heart sank. The idea of their beloved daughter being targeted by a malevolent spirit was unbearable. They knew they had to act quickly to protect her. That night, the atmosphere in the house grew even more oppressive. The whispers were louder, the shadows darker. The dollhouse seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, its windows glowing with an eerie light. Jenna and Michael decided to stay in Mia's room, hoping to confront the spirit directly. They watched as Mia slept, her small form curled up with the dollhouse by her side. Hours passed in tense silence until a sudden, chilling laughter filled the room. Dr. Wren stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "Liza, we know you're here. We understand your pain, but you cannot have Mia. You must move on." The laughter turned to a wail of anguish, and the dollhouse began to shake violently. Mia woke up, her eyes wide with fear as she clung to her mother. "Make it stop, Mama!" she cried. Jenna held her daughter tightly, whispering soothing words. "It's going to be okay, sweetie. We're here. We'll protect you." Dr. Wren continued her incantations, the air growing colder and more oppressive. The spirit of Eliza manifested, a ghostly figure of a young girl with hollow eyes and a twisted expression of sorrow and rage. "Leave Mia alone," Dr. Wren commanded. "Find peace, Eliza. You don't belong here anymore." Eliza's spirit let out a final, ear-piercing scream before dissipating into the ether. The dollhouse stopped shaking, its malevolent energy dissipating. The whispers ceased, and an eerie silence settled over the room. Mia looked up at her parents, tears streaming down her face. "Is it over?" Jenna kissed her forehead. "Yes, sweetie. It's over. You're safe now." In the days that followed, the Carters worked to cleanse their home of any remaining negative energy. They decided to bury the dollhouse deep in the woods, hoping to lay Eliza's spirit to rest once and for all. As they placed the dollhouse in the ground, Jenna said a silent prayer for the troubled child, wishing her peace in the afterlife. The family slowly returned to their normal routines, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Mia's laughter once again filled the house, and the shadows seemed less menacing. Jenna and Michael held their daughter a little closer, grateful for the love and light that had triumphed over the darkness. Though they never forgot the harrowing experience, the Carters emerged stronger and more united, their bond unbreakable. And as they moved forward, they knew they would always be vigilant, protecting their precious Mia from any threat that might come their way. The old Victorian house stood at the edge of the dense New England woods, its once grand facade now cloaked in ivy and shadows. The Ramirez family had just moved in, hoping the tranquil surroundings would provide a fresh start and an inspiring environment for their work. Maria and Carlos were busy unpacking downstairs when their 8-year-old son, Jacob, stumbled upon the attic door. "Mom! Dad! Can I go explore the attic?" Jacob called down the stairs, his voice filled with excitement. "Just be careful, sweetheart," Maria replied, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Don't touch anything too dusty." Jacob bounded up the narrow staircase, the wooden steps creaking under his small feet. The attic was dim and filled with cobwebs, the air thick with the scent of old wood and forgotten memories. Amid the clutter of discarded furniture and dusty trunks, Jacob's eyes were drawn to a large old dollhouse covered in dust. "Wow," he whispered, wiping away the cobwebs. The dollhouse was intricately detailed, a miniature replica of the very house they had just moved into. Its tiny rooms were furnished with delicate, antique pieces, and tiny porcelain dolls stood frozen in time. That night, as Jacob lay in bed, he heard soft cries coming from the attic. He sat up, straining to listen, but the house was silent. Curiosity gnawed at him, and he slipped out of bed, tiptoeing up to the attic. As he approached the dollhouse, he saw miniature lights flickering inside and heard the faint sounds of crying. "Mom! Dad! The dollhouse lights up!" Jacob exclaimed the next morning over breakfast. Carlos chuckled, ruffling Jacob's hair. "You've got quite the imagination, buddy." Maria smiled. "Maybe it's a leftover trick from Halloween. This house is full of surprises." But as the days turned into nights, the eerie occurrences continued. Jacob would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, as the soft cries and flickering lights became a nightly ritual. One evening, Maria and Carlos heard the cries themselves, followed by an otherworldly glow emanating from the attic. "What is that?" Maria whispered, gripping Carlos's arm. Carlos, ever the skeptic, decided to investigate. They climbed the stairs together, their hearts pounding. As they opened the attic door, they saw the dollhouse glowing with an ethereal light, and miniature shadows moved frantically within. "Jacob was right," Carlos said, his voice trembling with disbelief. "This isn't normal." Desperate for answers, they contacted Dr. Helen Wren, a renowned parapsychologist. Dr. Wren arrived the next day, her calm demeanor and years of experience providing a much-needed sense of hope. As Dr. Wren examined the dollhouse, Jacob watched with wide eyes. "Do you think it's haunted?" he asked. Dr. Wren nodded. "I believe this dollhouse is a vessel for a trapped spirit. We need to find out who it is and what they want." Through meticulous research, they uncovered the tragic history of Abigail Thornfield, a young girl who had lived in the house in the late 1800s. Abigail's parents were involved in dark rituals and believed that sacrificing their daughter would grant them eternal life. Abigail's spirit, filled with rage and sorrow, had become trapped within the dollhouse, her favorite toy. As the paranormal activity intensified, Jacob became increasingly drawn to the dollhouse. Abigail's spirit, sensing his innocence, tried to lure him in, believing his purity could help her escape her torment. One stormy night, as lightning flashed and thunder roared, the dollhouse's glow became blinding. Jacob, entranced, approached it, his small hands reaching out. "Jacob, no!" Maria screamed, grabbing him just in time. Dr. Wren stepped forward, her voice calm but authoritative. "Abigail, we know you're here. We understand your pain, but you cannot take Jacob. You must move on." The attic grew colder, and the ghostly figure of Abigail appeared, her hollow eyes filled with rage and sorrow. She let out a blood-curdling scream, the walls shaking with her fury. Carlos held Jacob tightly. "We have to do something!" Dr. Wren began chanting a ritual to release Abigail's spirit. The air crackled with energy, and the dollhouse trembled violently. Abigail's ghost screamed again, her form growing more monstrous and distorted. "Find peace, Abigail," Dr. Wren commanded. "Leave this place and move on." With a final deafening wail, Abigail's spirit dissipated, and the dollhouse's glow faded. The attic fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting. Jacob looked up at his parents, his eyes wide with relief. "Is it over?" Maria hugged him tightly. "Yes, sweetheart, it's over. You're safe now." In the following days, the Ramirez family worked to cleanse their home of any remaining negative energy. They buried the dollhouse deep in the woods, hoping to lay Abigail's spirit to rest. The house gradually returned to normal, and the shadows seemed less menacing. Jacob's laughter once again filled the halls, and the family found a new appreciation for their home and each other. Though they never forgot the harrowing experience, the Ramirez family emerged stronger and more united. Their bond, tested by the darkness, proved unbreakable, and they faced the future with a renewed sense of hope and love. And in the dense woods where the dollhouse lay buried, a faint whisper of peace lingered as Abigail's spirit finally found the rest she had longed for.
And there you have it, the trio of terror. 3 tales woven from the shadows of the supernatural, each more chilling than the last. From cursed heirlooms to restless spirits, these stories remind us that darkness can lurk in the most innocent of places. Did you survive the trio of terror? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.